You never expect the people you sacrificed everything for to betray you. Especially not your own blood. Especially not your parents. But sometimes, love blinds us until reality slaps hard. And when that slap comes from the very hands you once fed, it leaves a bruise too deep for healing. This is the haunting story of Amarachi, a 26-year-old Nigerian woman who worked day and night to save her parents' lives, only to be thrown out of her own home the moment their golden child returned from abroad. What began as a story of love and sacrifice spiraled into betrayal, heartbreak, and a shocking truth that left everyone speechless. Amarachi had always been the quiet one. The dutiful child. The one who never questioned her parents, who never rebelled, who never asked, "Why me?" when things went wrong. Born into a humble household in Nsukka, Nigeria, she was the second of 3 children, sandwiched between her older brother, Ibuka, and her younger sister, Adiz. Ibuka was the apple of their parents' eyes. Brilliant, bold, and favored, he had received the lion's share of opportunities, including a scholarship to study engineering in Canada. Amarachi didn't envy him, at least not at first. But as the years passed and Ibuka sent fewer and fewer messages home, it was Amarachi who bore the weight of the family. When their father fell ill with a failing kidney, and their mother collapsed from chronic hypertension, it was Amarachi, working 2 jobs as a schoolteacher and hairdresser, who stepped in. No one heard from Ibuka. He blocked everyone after sending a message that read, "I'm trying to survive here too. Don't guilt-trip me." Their parents were old-fashioned and rural. Healthcare was expensive. Public hospitals were overwhelmed. So Amarachi did the unthinkable. She sold off her land inheritance and borrowed from her cooperative society. In total, she spent $18,000, nearly 6 years' worth of savings, to keep them alive. Even when she struggled to eat, she made sure their medications were bought. She installed a small solar panel to keep their home running during blackouts. She cancelled her own dreams of getting a master's degree in Enugu. Her entire 20s became a long prayer for her parents' recovery. And they did recover. Slowly, with time and medication, her father regained strength. Her mother stopped collapsing in the kitchen. And through it all, Amarachi kept smiling, despite her thinning frame, the bags under her eyes, the loneliness that pressed on her like wet cloth. She never asked for thanks. She only needed love. One humid evening, as she was closing the hair salon she rented with her friend Chinanai, her mother called. "Amara," her voice trembled with excitement, "Ibuka is coming home next week. He has a surprise. He's coming with his wife. He has made it in Canada." Amarachi paused. Her stomach tightened. "Oh, that's good news, Mama. He said he'll renovate the house, maybe even build us a flat. You will see, our days of struggle are over." She nodded slowly, the phone clutched against her damp cheek. She should have felt joy, but something sank inside her. A quiet fear she couldn't explain. Ibuka returned as promised. With a Canadian wife named Amanda and a flashy rental SUV, he drove into the compound like royalty. The whole village came out to welcome him. His parents cried. His mother knelt and kissed his feet. Amarachi stood near the door, holding a tray of drinks, her smile forced but steady. Amanda was soft-spoken and polite, but it was clear from her brief glances and tight smiles that she felt out of place. Amarachi tried to connect with her, offering her local dishes and adjusting her mosquito net at night. But Amanda barely looked her way. One night, as Amarachi walked into the kitchen, she overheard Ibuka talking to their parents. "It's too cramped here," he said. "Amanda doesn't feel safe with so many people. You should consider letting Amara go for a while. Let us settle in and fix the house." Amarachi froze. Her blood chilled. "But she's the one who has been here," her mother started, hesitantly. Ibuka's voice sharpened. "Exactly. She has been here for too long. Look at her. Always tired. She needs to go out and live her own life." There was silence. Then came the whisper that broke Amarachi. It's true, her father said. She needs to marry, anyway. Let her go stay with her uncle in Abakaliki. Just for a few months. That night, Amarachi didn't sleep. She stared at the cracked ceiling and blinked back tears. Was this what it all came to? Did they forget the nights she sat beside their beds, holding their hands while they gasped for breath? The hours she spent begging pharmacists to sell her drugs on credit? 3 days later, her mother knocked on her door gently. My daughter, we've been talking. Just for some time, maybe you can stay with your uncle. Ibuka wants to do some work on the house. You know you're not comfortable sharing space with his wife. Amarachi laughed. It was bitter, hollow. So I'm the guest now? In the house I paid to repair? The house I stayed to keep from collapsing? Her mother looked away. It's not like that. It's just temporary. And where was he when Papa couldn't breathe? When we had no light and your blood pressure shot up at midnight? Mama, he left. I stayed. Her mother's eyes welled with tears, but her silence said everything. The next morning, her belongings were outside, folded into neat piles. Her plastic drawers stacked like discarded crates. Her framed certificates leaned against a jerrycan. She left without saying goodbye. Amarachi moved to her uncle's modest house in Abakaliki, where she shared a room with 3 cousins. She got a teaching job in a private school, barely earning enough to eat, but she never asked for help. Weeks passed. Then one morning, her phone buzzed. A message from Chinanai, her salon partner. Did you hear? Amanda left Ibuka. She couldn't take village life. He sold the SUV and left yesterday for Lagos. Your parents are alone. Again. Amarachi didn't respond. That night, as she lay in bed, the tears finally came. Not from sadness, but release. Because even though the world had turned its back on her, she finally saw the truth. Family isn't about blood. It's about those who stay when everyone else leaves. She decided not to return. Not out of revenge, but because it was time to start choosing herself for once. She enrolled in a diploma course online and started a side hustle teaching English virtually to foreign students. Her life remained simple, but it was hers, and no one could take that from her. Weeks turned into months, and Amarachi slowly rebuilt herself, quietly, steadily. Life in Abakaliki was no paradise, but for the first time in years, she had space to think. To breathe. Her uncle, a retired school principal, treated her kindly, offering her wisdom during evening meals and encouraging her to apply for scholarships again. I don't know what your parents were thinking, he muttered one night. But let this pain teach you something important: never pour yourself empty for people who only take. That stuck with her. Every evening, after teaching children their ABCs and fixing their broken pencils, she'd return to her small shared room and log into her online class. Despite the heat, despite the mosquito bites, she was finally chasing her dream again, studying child psychology with a UK-based college. Then one day, another message arrived. Amara, please call me. It's urgent. Mama collapsed again. China and I. For a brief moment, the old instinct kicked in. Amarachi reached for her bag, her ATM card, her file of emergency contact numbers. But then she froze. This wasn't the first collapse. And the last time she responded like this, she was left standing outside her home like a stranger. She closed her eyes and took a long breath. Later that evening, her phone rang. This time, it was her father. Amara, please forgive us. We didn't know Amanda would leave. We didn't know Ibuka would run off again. Your mother's not doing well. Please, come home. The line went quiet. She didn't answer. 3 days passed. Another message came, this one from her younger sister Adiz, who had always been too young to be involved but had grown observant. You owe them nothing, Amara. But I just thought you should know. Papa sold the generator you bought. They needed drugs. And now the neighbors won't help them anymore. Something in Amarachi softened, not for her parents, but for the helplessness of old age. For the human in them, flawed and weak. She didn't go back home. But she did send money, for the medication only. No message, no phone call, no I love you. Just the amount needed. Nothing more. Amarachi began to change. People noticed. She wore her hair differently now, shorter, lighter. Her shoulders, once slumped in quiet defeat, now stood firm. Her eyes no longer darted for approval, they looked straight ahead. She was slowly becoming someone new. She saved her first full online salary and bought a new phone. She created a WhatsApp group for students across Africa preparing for international English exams and began mentoring young girls in local schools. Her pain became fuel. And she promised herself, never again will I allow myself to be invisible in a house I built with my sweat. Then one fateful afternoon, as she returned from work, she saw a man sitting outside her uncle's compound. He stood up as soon as he saw her. Tall, familiar posture. It was Ibuka. Amara, he said, smiling like nothing had happened. She said nothing. I came to see you. Mama is sick again, and Papa's back pain is worse. We're struggling. The house is falling apart. And you're the only one who can help. Please. The nerve. The same man who stood behind her parents and kicked her out like worn shoes, now standing here, begging. Amarachi looked him dead in the eye. I'm not a hospital, she said. And I'm not your wallet. His face twitched with disbelief. So you'll just abandon your parents? After everything? She smiled, cold, calm. No, brother. They abandoned me. When they chose you over the daughter who fed them, result of that choice. She walked past him without another word. That evening, she wrote in her journal. I've learned that sometimes, love means walking away. Not from your family, but from the version of yourself they expect you to be, a version that never says no, never rests, never lives. She didn't stop caring. But she finally stopped sacrificing herself to prove it. A full year had passed since Amarachi was cast out of her own home. In that time, she had transformed completely, from the obedient, quiet daughter who waited for crumbs of affection to a woman who now chose peace over pleasing, boundaries over blind loyalty. Her teaching job had evolved. She had opened a small learning center for underprivileged children in Abakaliki, funded from her online tutoring earnings. Nothing grand. Just a room with plastic chairs, a whiteboard, and donated books. But the laughter of children and their eager eyes gave her a sense of purpose her former life never did. She didn't talk much about her family. Most people assumed they were dead or estranged. And she never corrected them. But one day, in the middle of a spelling competition at her learning center, her phone vibrated again. It was Adiz, her younger sister. Amara, Papa has been admitted again. It's his lungs this time. Mama is crying every night. They're asking for you. She sighed deeply. The words didn't sting like they used to. They just echoed in an empty chamber now. But Adiz sent something else, a picture. Her parents, frail and gray, lying in separate beds in a rural clinic. The room looked colder than a prison. And suddenly, for a brief moment, she felt the tiniest pang of what remained of her former self, the girl who once skipped meals to buy these people antibiotics. The guilt tried to crawl back in. But this time, she didn't let it win. She went to visit, but only for 1 hour. The house looked old, much older than she remembered. Paint peeled like old skin. The compound was unkempt. No SUV. No signs of renovation. Just silence and faded pride. Her father, barely able to sit up, burst into tears when she walked in. My daughter. Amara. I failed you, he choked. I listened to the wrong voice. I forgot who stood with me when death sat at our table. Her mother couldn't look her in the eyes. She sat in silence, wringing her hands. Amarachi sat down, calm, distant. I'm not here to save anyone, she said gently. I came so we can all finally understand, love does not equal servitude. And forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Her father nodded through tears. We don't deserve your forgiveness. But we ask for it anyway. And we thank God that you are still standing. For the first time in her life, Amarachi felt heard. Not because they begged, but because she finally saw them clearly, not as idols, not as saints, but as human beings. Flawed, weak, and deeply broken. She left after 52 minutes. On the way out, she bumped into a neighbor who had once called her a girl with too much pride. The woman's face softened. You've changed, Amara. You carry peace now. She simply smiled and walked on. Back in Abakaliki, life resumed. Her students awaited her. Her small learning center grew with new volunteers. And in the evenings, she taught African girls across 3 countries how to pass IELTS exams and how to never let anyone steal their light. Then one day, something unexpected happened. An email arrived. Congratulations. You've been selected for a fully funded fellowship in Nairobi to develop educational programs for disadvantaged youth. Her heart skipped. This was everything she once dreamed of, before hospitals, before betrayal, before sacrifice. She packed lightly, leaving behind her past not in anger, but in peace. At the airport, as she waited to board, her phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Adiz. Mama asked me to tell you, she prays for you every night now. Papa too. They say you're no longer just their daughter. You're their lesson. Amarachi stared out the window, the morning sun catching the edge of the airplane wing. A lesson. Yes. That's what she had become. A living reminder that kindness must never cost you your dignity. That no matter how deep your love runs, it should never drown you. And that even when the people who raised you fail you, you still have the power to raise yourself. As the plane lifted off, she didn't look back.